Okay, today we're going to talk about synthetic division. And back, I don't remember what chapter, I think chapter 5, we did dividing polynomials, and we did it the long way, where we had to do our long division. Okay? Today we're going to use another method of dividing polynomials. If I give you this big long polynomial, x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 3, and I ask you to divide it by x minus 1. Instead of doing long division, what we can use is called synthetic division. Okay? For synthetic division, some teachers set it up a little bit differently. I always set it up like this, kind of with a little box and then a line. Inside your box is going to be the number that you're trying to divide by, but it's always going to be opposite of what's inside the parentheses. So if I'm asking you to divide by x minus 1 in parentheses, the number that I'm going to put inside this box is going to be a positive one, opposite of what's inside the parentheses. We just put our number. We're going to ignore x's for now, and we're just going to look at our coefficients, the numbers in front. Just got a phone call from the sitter saying that Addison's crying, that she feels like she's going to throw up. So I'm recording this lesson in case I have to leave for a second.
Hi, next class.
Hello. Ignore them. Oh my gosh.
Just make sure you boil.
Weird. All right. Next to the box, I'm going to put my coefficients of the polynomial. So my coefficients are going to be 1, then 3, then
-1.
-1, then
-3.
-3. Okay? When we did our long division, we had to worry about all of our x's, and we had to carry down all of our x's, and it got kind of complicated because there was so much going on. Synthetic division kind of simplifies it a little bit by ignoring all those variables and just looking at the numbers. Okay? All right. So now that you have your setup, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to drop this first one down. This one's always going to stay the same, so this is always going to be this first number, so in this case it's going to be a 1. Okay? From here, I'm going to take this 1 in the box and multiply it by the 1 down here. So 1 times 1 is 1. And I'm going to add those two numbers together. So what's 3 plus 1? 4. I'm going to do it again. What is 1 times 4? 4. What is -1 plus 4? 3. Do it again. What's 1 times 3? 3. What's -3 plus 3? 0. My last number is a 0, which means it goes in evenly. There is no remainder. Okay? This doesn't look like an answer, though. 1430 doesn't look like an answer. It doesn't look like a polynomial with x's in it. So what we have to do is put back in our x's. We took them out to make it a little bit easier when we divide, but we've got to put it back in for our final answer. Okay? What this means, 1, 4, 3, these are my new coefficients. Okay? So my first coefficient is 1, and then I've got to put an x back in next to it, but it's always going to be 1 less than what I started with. So when I started here with an x cubed, this is really now going to be 1x squared plus 4x plus 3. The 0, remember, is just your remainder. Okay? So when I do my synthetic division, I get a new polynomial that's 1 less than what I started with.
What happens to the negative right next to the x?
What happens to the negative next to the x?
No, you don't pay attention to those negatives and positives instead of that.
You're talking about this negative?
No, the other one.
This I brought with it.
Oh, so whatever's different.
Okay? So, on your final exam, if I tell you that x minus 1 is one of the factors of this polynomial, could you find me the other factors? If x minus 1 is one of the factors, could you find me the other ones? How would you do it? Factor what? My answer. So I had to use my x minus 1 to do my synthetic division, and I get this new polynomial. So then what can we do with this new polynomial to make it look smaller into little factors? Factor it. What numbers multiply to 3 that when you add them you get 4?
3 and 1.
3 and 1. Okay, that's what they're going to ask you on your final. If x minus 1 is a factor, find me the other factors. But what do I have to do first before I can find the factors? Divide it. I have to use my synthetic division and get me a smaller polynomial, so that way I can then factor it. Okay?
Foil that back out.
If you FOIL all three of these back out, you should get that.
Just that, or just that first equation.
You would get this big long one. Okay? All right. Let's do another one. How is this one different? There's no x squared. Do you remember when we did our our long division? When there was a missing term, what did we have to do?
Zero.
We had to plug it in with a 0. Okay, so same idea. We're gonna put our little setup. What number is gonna go inside this box?
3.
Positive or negative 3?
Positive.
Positive, because it's opposite of what's inside the parentheses. If it's in parentheses, we're gonna do the opposite. Ooh, what if it was like this? So what if I say take the 3x cubed minus 2x plus 5 and divide it by x equals 3? What would you put inside your box?
Positive 3.
You would put positive 3. This isn't in parentheses. This x minus 3 is, or x equals 3 isn't in parentheses. Could you force it back into a parentheses? Like going backwards and put it back into a parentheses? What would it look like if you put it back in parentheses? X minus 3, and then you would use positive 3. So if it's in parentheses, we do the opposite. If it's already outside of a parentheses, then you just keep it the same. Okay, so if you take it out of parentheses, you make it opposite. All right, what numbers are going to go next to this box here?
3. 0.
Oh, 0. 5. Make sure you fill in any missing terms with a 0. All right, what do I do first? Yep, drop this 3 down. Now what? This 3 times this 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Add these together. Do it again. 3 times 3 is, no, 3 times 9 is 27. What's negative 2 and 27? 25. 3 times 25? 75 and 5? 80. What does that 80 mean? There is a remainder. That means x minus 3, this one up here, was not a factor. It doesn't go in equally, because there's a remainder. Could you still write me a polynomial with these coefficients? This would be 3x squared, because it's 1 less than what I started with, plus 9x plus 25, with a remainder of 80 over x minus 3. Where did I get the x minus 3 from? What I divided by. Okay?
So when you have a 0,
Uh-huh.
and you add it to 9,
Uh-huh.
it'll always be x.
It's always going to start with 1 less than what I started with at the beginning. So I started with an x cubed. This first coefficient is going to be then an x squared. Then it's going to go in order. X squared, then x, then the number. It's always going to go in order from there.
So where did the 0 come from? Because there wasn't an x.
Because there wasn't an x squared in my original polynomial, and I need to make sure that I have consecutive numbers. This is my x cubed, and this is my x, but I didn't have an x squared, so I had to fill it in with something. So I could plug it in with a 0. Okay? All right, everybody okay with that? Synthetic division. Okay, that's all I have for you today. It will be on your final exam, so make sure you know it for